Welcome inside Appalachia. I'm Mason Adams. This week, hop aboard the Cass Scenic Railroad for a visit with the people who keep the steam trains running. We also head to the woods and take a master class in foraging for wild mushrooms.
There are old mushroom hunters, and there are bold mushroom hunters, but there are no old, bold mushroom hunters.
And the makers of Angelo's old world Italian sausage still use a century-old family recipe. Customers love it.
And they're like, man, I've never tasted anything like this before. I said, yeah, so go put your corporate sausage down and get some really good stuff here that has no preservatives in it.
You'll hear these stories and more this week inside Appalachia.
Support for this program is brought to you by Solar Holler, helping West Virginia homeowners manage their energy costs through solar power. Details at solarholler.com. Support for this program is provided by the Thrasher Group, an architecture, engineering, and field services firm serving West Virginia clients and communities since 1983. More information at thethrashergroup.com.
Welcome inside Appalachia. I'm Mason Adams. There's something special about autumn in the mountains. I live right off the Blue Ridge Parkway, and I can always tell by the rumble of motorcycles that fall is here. This is the most popular time of year for a lot of tourist destinations in Appalachia. In West Virginia, visitors flock to view fall foliage by taking a ride on the Cass Scenic Railroad. In 2022, Folkways reporter Lauren Griffin visited Pocahontas County and met some of the folks who keep the Cass steam trains running, including senior railroad employee Rex Castle, who passed away during the making of the story. Here's Lauren.
This is the sound of a 1920s Heisler No. 6 locomotive known here as the Durbin Rocket. Eager tourists lean out from the open-air coaches as the train departs and begins its journey into the mountains of Pocahontas County, West Virginia. It's a hot summer day, but not hot enough to keep Kentaro Okuni and his family away.
Because my son loves, especially for the steam train. Yeah, so this is the second trip to visit here.
Okuni traveled from his home in the suburbs of D.C. with his wife Hiroi and his young son Takenojo to see the impressive Shea steam trains run. Many visitors I spoke to on the train were not from West Virginia. And in the years before the pandemic, it was fairly common for folks to travel to the small town of Cass from all over the world. Riding the train at Cass is a niche experience, one that wouldn't be possible without a committed group of experts who fix and operate the trains. One of those people is Rex Castle. He's the shop foreman down at the Cass repair shop.
Working on these old Shays is something that's unique and different from any job you ever had.
Castle has been working on these locomotives for about 30 years. Like a lot of other engineers, hostlers, and machinists, Castle is the third generation in his family to work on these locomotives.
Well, my granddad worked for the C&O. He walked me on the railroad all the time. He would show me things. Of course, I was a boy and, not understanding, but I did pay attention. But then my dad worked here. He got me in. He'd bring me up here as a little kid. He hustled. I would lay in the floor of the locomotive, and he would cover me up with an old greasy rag that was in there. And I'll never forget, I'd wake up, and he'd be shoving coal over top of me into the fire box, and then I'd go right back to sleep. But yeah, I've been around them all my biggest part of my life.
The other guys in the crew refer to Castle as a wealth of knowledge due to his experience in the field. He's also approaching retirement.
Yeah, as of the crew we have right now, I'm probably the oldest that's left here. The old timer, as they would call. Like I say, we've got some younger guys that's coming up. I'm not going to be here forever. Hopefully 2 more years, but yeah, I want to show them what I know, what I called the old timers before me handed down to me. So
that's one of the unique and challenging aspects of the job. The locomotives running out of Cass were built in the early 1900s, all the way to the 1950s and 60s. The knowledge on how to repair and run these locomotives is specific to the local terrain and mostly handed down through hands-on learning.
When you run up here on our railroad, we probably average 6 to 8% grades all the way 11 miles to Ball Knob and back. It's the only way you can learn how to do it is get in them with the engineer to show you and to learn it hands-on. There's no book out there that will tell you how to do this.
One of the members of the younger generation is Dervin Lambert. Like Castle, Lambert grew up around these trains. His grandfather also worked at the Cass repair shop as a machinist.
I started when I was 15 years old in the shop, and I'm 33 now. And I've left for a couple years, but I always seem to come back. I want to live here. This is where I choose to live, so this is the job that I enjoy doing for the area. So I'm hands-on, and I don't mind getting dirty and, hot. It's aggravating sometimes, but at the end of the day, it's a good job. So
the job is not just running tourist trains. It's also running freight. The freight trains haul a variety of goods with modern locomotives. But it's the antique steam trains that require more effort. And the job is not for everyone, even people who thought they wanted to work on trains. Rex Castle has seen his fair share of people come and go.
They didn't like the dirt, the soot, the smoke, the oil. Your clothes is going to stay stained. You go out here, you're black most days. It's a dirty job. It's not a job for somebody who wants to stay clean. And they're hot. They are terrible hot. The hot sunny season, like today where it's probably 80 out there, these locomotives probably averaging anywhere between 130, 150 degrees. It's hot enough on the engineer sitting there. You can't get out of it. And the fireman, he's shoveling 4 ton of coal, so in that heat. So, yeah, it's a hard job.
It's important for the railroad company to find committed folks who can handle the dirty, hot work. But the population here is shrinking, and the field is primarily dominated by workers who are men. So the railroad has expanded their employee search pool beyond the region. One person who doesn't mind the rough conditions is Matthew Hooser. He's one of the newest recruits, along with his friend Brown Culp.
Well, long story short, both of us volunteered at the North Carolina Transportation Museum in Spencer, North Carolina. That's how we both kind of got started into this career, I guess you could say. And one year we decided to kind of make a father-son trip. His dad and my dad, we paired together, came up and rode Cass a couple years ago. We really enjoyed it. Ever since then, I guess you could say we kind of fantasized on, it'd be great to kind of work up there. It seems like, all the steam engines and everything like that, take our passion and take it to another level.
Hooser is the engineer for the morning ride on the Durbin Rocket. As an engineer, Hooser is responsible for running the engine, keeping it lubricated, watching the track for obstacles, coordinating with the train conductor, and helping the trip run as smoothly as possible. His friend Culp is a fireman, which means he fuels and maintains the fire in the locomotive during trips. People like Hooser and Culp are important for the future of the trains in Cass.
Hopefully, the younger generation we've got coming up here will keep them going for generations to come. If we can still afford to run them. It's getting to where it's starting to really be hard.
With industry costs rising, Cass employees worry that increasing ticket prices in response might push tourists away. John Smith is the CEO and founder of the Durbin and Greenbrier Valley Railroad. He controls the finances.
Our ticket price is still probably on the lower end of some of the other railroads around the country. But we're not in the middle of a metropolitan area or near one even. So everybody comes here has to drive here to get here. So it's kind of an expensive thing to do, more than just drive 20 miles to go to a zoo or something. The biggest question mark is, are we going to have the base of customers that we had before?
But there's an element to Cass that keeps drawing folks back, whether to work or to visit.
Just riding a train, I don't know what it is, especially if you're in like one of those air-conditioned cars whipping down the tracks over on the Central. It's pretty cool. Even the ride here, with all the noise and everything else, it's like almost musical. It has that kind of effect on you. So when you hear a steam whistle a mile away, There's no one wouldn't say that's one of the coolest things I ever heard.
Which is why, for now, the trains are still running and drawing people to Cass, West Virginia. With Inside Appalachia, I'm Lauren Griffin.
To see photos of the antique trains at Cass and the crew that keeps them running, visit our website, wvpublic.org. And thanks to Walter Scriptunis for help with that story. With cooler temperatures and a little rain, mushroom hunters head into the woods during the early fall in search of wild mushrooms. In 2023, Folkways reporter Wendy Welch spent time with fungi enthusiasts in Virginia and West Virginia. She brought us this story.
It's an overcast but hot morning, and I'm in the backseat of a car on the way to hunt for mushrooms.
Mushrooms have been so hot lately. They might be like the superstars, you know?
That's Amy McLaughlin. Her husband, Sean Means, is driving. We're talking about the mushrooms that are featured in the hit show The Last of Us. They're called cordyceps. In the show, cordyceps mutate and eat people's brains. In real life, they don't do that, at least not to people.
There are mushrooms that are parasitic, and they do have the same name, the genus, as the ones in that show. But at this time, we do not believe that they will inhabit human bodies. Well, they do take over bugs.
Bugs? Yeah, they absolutely do. Cordyceps. They get inside of the bugs into their nervous system, and they do take over them. When the fungus is ready to produce the fruiting body, it kills the bug and comes up out of the bug.
Wow. Sean and Amy are West Virginia master naturalists. They run a boutique vacation rental called Lafayette Flats in Fayetteville, next to the New River Gorge National Park and Preserve. They lead ecotours for people who stay in their flats, pointing out unique flora, fauna, and fungi in the area. If you want mushrooms in your life, there are two main paths to follow: farming or foraging. Misidentifying a fungus to use as food or medicine can be lethal, so foragers tend to hunt in packs until they're experts. Experienced hunters like Amy and Sean teach the newbies. As we disembark, Sean quotes a proverb known to every mushroom enthusiast in America.
There are old mushroom hunters, and there are bold mushroom hunters, but there are no old, bold mushroom hunters.
In other words, it's a good idea to be careful when hunting fungi. The couple lead me into the forest. Birdsong fills the air and dry leaves crackle underfoot, which is a bad sign, Sean points out. Mushrooms proliferate after rainfall. A mushroom, known officially as a fruiting body, is the smallest part of a larger living organism that needs a lot of water and can cover miles, all out of sight to the human eye.
You're in the woods and you see the trees and you see the mushrooms, and then if you just stop and think, the vast majority of the fungus is underneath us, you know? And just think about that for a minute, like the dark soil, the earth underneath us, and that huge organism that's under there that's pushing all the fruiting bodies up. I think that's fascinating to think about.
There are also mushrooms that grow from wood rather than soil, but today we're hunting chanterelles, which do grow in the ground. It's not going well.
I don't see any mushrooms at all.
Chanterelles would have been easy to spot had any been around. They're popular for teaching new foragers because of their bright yellow color and distinctive fluted edges that make them look like a tiny trumpet. They're hard to mix up with any other mushroom, but not impossible.
There's one called a jack-o'-lantern mushroom, and it doesn't really, once you learn the difference, it doesn't look anything like a chanterelle. It has very different characteristics, but it's kind of the same collar. So if you were a newbie and you just were, going through the woods and saw that collar, it's possible you could get excited, and those are poisonous. They're not going to kill you, but they're going to make you sick.
We find the target of our hunt after just a few minutes, but it's a disappointment.
Look, one chanterelle, and it's old.
Not every mushroom hunt is successful. After another fruitless half hour, we leave the woods. Lucky for me, Sean and Amy have promised to take me back to their house and cook up some mushrooms they've already foraged. In their well-appointed kitchen, decorated with mushroom art, Sean hauls a double handful of fungi foraged yesterday from the fridge. When I find out the plan for eating the chanterelles, though, I briefly consider making a run for it. Sean cooks down the little fluted trumpets in butter until they're lightly crispy, mixes in a small amount of honey, and serves this over vanilla ice cream.
And now we eat.
It turns out that chanterelle ice cream sundaes are actually very tasty.
Oh, good. Wasn't it good? Mm.
Mushroom hunting with experts is also a rare treat. But if learning to identify the roughly 2,500 species that grow in central Appalachia feels daunting, try mushroom farming. It's safer, simpler, and less subject to the vagaries of rainfall. To home-grow mushrooms, all you need is a log or a cardboard box and some spawn.
Well, we are mushroom farmers for 8 years, but originally we started on log and buying spawn and inoculating logs, and then moved on to buying spawn and growing oysters in straw.
That's Ben Harder. He runs Den Hill Farm and Fungi in Christiansburg, Virginia. The farm offers workshops on cultivating fresh mushrooms, and business is booming. One of his most popular workshops teaches people to inoculate logs with spawn, also known as mycelium. Inoculating a log means drilling a hole and pushing the mycelium into the wood. There it will feed and be fed in a symbiotic relationship, taking in carbohydrates from the log, then pushing out B vitamins and minerals like potassium through the fruiting body. I caught up with Harder while he was vending at the Blacksburg Farmers Market, and he shared his personal interest story into mushroom farming.
I started a vegetable farm. I was a horticulture student. Things were going all right, but one day at the farmer's market, a Appalachian Trail through hiker that happened to live in Blacksburg was coming through, and they were trying to sell these shiitake logs that they had inoculated so that they could finish the Appalachian Trail. It was amazing to see this log that probably had 1.5 pounds or 2 pounds of mushrooms growing out of it. It just kind of blew my mind that mushrooms were taking this waste product, a log worth nothing but firewood, and making a high value retail product out of it. They're making something out of nothing. And so he sold me the logs. That year I killed them because I left them inside a barn and they dried out. But the next year I started inoculating logs, and from there it's kind of been a steady growth.
In just a couple of years, they went from vending 100% fruits and vegetables to 40% produce and 60% fungi. Their best-seller home-growing method isn't logs, though. It's a countertop kit.
Doing the tabletop farm or the mushroom fruiting block on your counter, it's really quite the experience. It looks so beautiful. It's like a living bouquet.
Countertop box kits were everywhere during the pandemic, and they've stuck around. Harder sells bags of spawn you put in your own box. Walmart sells cardboard blocks full of specific spawn. Stash the open box in a dark corner of your kitchen counter. Keep it wet but not soaking, and in a couple of weeks,
you can just kind of see it come, and then when it's at its prime, you get to just pluck off the mushrooms and eat them. And they even last a while in the fridge. You can keep them for a week or two. So it's a lot of fun and like a learning experience to see how mushrooms work and be able to get to do it again in 2 weeks because most of them fruit again. It's a real blast.
And educational. Den Hill sells the bulk of their fungal products to families with young kids.
It's really been amazing seeing the youth, especially like 5 to 12-year-olds that are really showing interest in coming out of the woodwork.
Mushrooms tend to capture young imaginations for many reasons, not least because they capture environmental toxins. When Harder explained this to me, his enthusiasm was infectious.
When mushrooms eat toxic chemicals like plastics or oil spills, like oyster mushrooms can live on an oil spill, clean it, and produce safe mushrooms to eat. It's really incredible.
Harder also delights in vegans and experimental chefs growing tabletop farms for the joy of eating those fresh fruiting bodies, sometimes as an alternative to meat. Two of the most popular countertop mushrooms are lion's mane, which tastes like lobster, and oyster, which tastes like mushrooms. When it comes to a kitchen kit, the world's your oyster.
We probably have 24 different types of mushrooms in our culture library that we're actively growing.
The farming and foraging worlds aren't mutually exclusive. Most mycelium appreciation communities tend to be friendly with each other regardless of methodology. Harder thinks this is in part because mushrooms are so hyperlocal.
So I think mushrooms create community by having to be a decentralized system where cultures and strains and mushroom fruiting bodies can be sold and traded locally because of their lack of shippability and kind of regional availability.
Kits bring mushrooms safely and easily into your home. For the thrill of a woodland hunt, don't go it alone, hunt down a mushroom club. They're prolific in Appalachia. Foraged or farmed, fungi can be fantastic fun. For Inside Appalachia, I'm Wendy Welch.
That story and the one before it are part of our Folkways reporting project, which covers arts and culture in our region. You can find more Folkways stories at our website, wvpublic.org. Coming up, Zen and the Art of a Turkey Call. You're Inside Appalachia. I'm Mason Adams.
Support for WVPB is provided by the Huntington Museum of Art, presenting Joyful Spirits, Haitian art from the Winslow Anderson Collection through February 8, 2026. Details at hmoa.org.
Throughout Central Appalachia, fall turkey season usually starts in late September or early October, which brings out the turkey calls. Now, historically, these have been used as a hunting tool, but one West Virginia artist has taken it to the next level. Brian Aliff makes handcrafted, prize-winning decorative turkey calls. These works of art are functional, and they've become collector's items. But it took a while for Aliff to think of himself as an artist. Connie Kitts has his story.
But that right there, I mean, that's classic. That's classic turkey.
That's Brian Aliff. And that sound? It's from a small wooden instrument known as a turkey call. We're up in the woods where turkeys had been earlier in the day. Brian opens up a bag of his handmade calls. There's an intricate hunting scene painted on each one. They look too pretty to hunt with. He hands me around one about the size and shape of a snuff can or a drink coaster. The style's known as a pot call. It has a red streaked wooden rim surrounding a crystal disc. I can see the image of a turkey etched on a piece of slate underneath.
Old timers call them slate calls because they used to all just be made out of slate, and then people started experimenting with different surfaces and stuff.
Brian puts what's called a striker, a short stick with a flared tip, against the slate, and he makes short jerking strokes. Honestly, it's not the sound that gets me, it's Brian's artwork. One pot call has a small turkey feather under the glass, and it's carefully painted with two gobblers. The detail is remarkable down to the iridescent colors of the bird puffing his chest.
I didn't set out to be a call maker. I'm an artist first, and I painted on feathers.
The first time I saw those painted feathers, they were on display in a local art gallery.
Truthfully, I never called myself an artist ever in my life before I got involved with Gary.
Gary is Gary Bowling of Bluefield, West Virginia, who's a nationally recognized artist. He established a gallery and a nonprofit studio in Bluefield that promotes the work of Appalachian artists. I talked with him by phone. Gary says when Brian first showed him his painted feathers,
yeah, I mean, he showed up and he said, "What do you think?" I said, "Oh my God." I said, "You're more of an artist than I would ever hope to."
Brian didn't have a background in art. He was a steel worker fabricating structures for coal processing plants.
Brian has not been to an art institution. He has really not been trained to do what he does. To me, it's the purest form of art that you can be.
And Gary points out that Brian doesn't even stiffen or spray the feathers before he paints them, and he uses an extremely delicate brush about the width of 3 eyelashes. So, how did Brian go from painting turkey feathers to crafting turkey calls? Well, he was looking for other places to show his work, and he figured the National Wild Turkey Federation Convention would be a good place to start. He thought about painting pre-made turkey call boxes, but he knew that wouldn't be cost-effective, so
I went in the wood shop and trial and error, and in 2 months I made up my first dozen calls and entered their decorative call competition down there in a painted box class, and got like a second in a national competition.
Yep, second nationally. Since then, Brian's become a 6-time national champion call maker in the decorative classes, and his turkey calls are collector's items. But to win in the decorative classes, Brian says the calls also have to place high in sounding like a turkey. Back in the woods, Brian pulls out more calls with painted images. There's a paddle box call, a one-sided call, and another called a scratch box call. He says different hunters prefer different sounds.
I gravitate towards rasp. I like raspy calls. It's like Tanya Tucker. She's got a little husky rasp in her voice, you know. But it really doesn't make any difference. It's what the turkey wants. It's what the turkey likes.
Brian hands me a call so I can try it.
Hold the pot on the end of your fingers.
Okay.
Make a little circle with it. Don't pick it up. Just make a circle. There's a yelp. Did you hear it?
That's a yelp.
Did you hear the high low? Yelp, 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 yelp.
Yeah.
She's yelping 90 miles an hour. Yelp, 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 yelp.
Well, it takes practice. And one other thing.
You got to put emotion into it, just like guitar players. Great guitar players has got emotion in it. You know, they're in it, and it's the same thing with these calls.
What Brian does has a lot in common with an instrument maker. He has to know the qualities of woods that produce different sounds.
This is where all the magic happens.
On a warm spring day, I visit Brian's workshop. His grandfather built it from trees he timbered and milled himself. Using his grandfather's lathe, Brian shapes a pot call.
I'm going to thin this side some and get some slope on it.
His grandparents told him the family has native heritage, either Shawnee or Cherokee, just a few generations back.
And the native people understood that you don't waste anything.
Almost all of the wood Brian uses is local salvaged wood.
And with the feathers, you know, to create the art on the feather, it's like a tribute to that animal giving his life for you to have yours.
These days, Brian gets orders for custom-made call boxes.
This guy wants an old truck that's on his granddaddy's farm in a place that he killed the best bird he ever killed. He wants a scene to kind of depict that. It's custom, it's personalized to that guy.
There's just one more call Brian wants to show me. It has a pink camouflage pattern painted on the box, but the lid is screwed shut, and that's because it's a baby rattle that Brian made for his first granddaughter. He says when she gets older, if she wants to go turkey hunting, he'll remove a screw, the lid will hinge, and the turkeys will hear... For Inside Appalachia, Talkin' Turkey, I'm Connie Kitts. For Inside Appalachia, I'm Connie Kitts.
Most of us buy our sausage at the store, but it used to be that as part of the fall harvest, farmers would slaughter and process beef and pork to help get through the winter. Some of that meat went into sausage. Today, some people still make their own sausage using old family recipes. A few have found ways to share that with others. In 2023, Zach Harold met up with Sonny and Lou Argento from West Virginia. They're the creators of Angelo's Old World Italian sausage.
So we're going to make a mix here that's Not mild or not hot, somewhere in between. How do you like it?
I'll eat anything.
Okay. So,
Louis Argento is elbow deep in a mixing bowl filled with ground pork and a closely guarded blend of spices. His dad, Sonny Argento, is supervising.
How do you say fennel in Italian?
Finocchio.
Finocchio.
This is crushed fennel.
No, this is whole.
Whole fennel, I'm sorry. It is not crushed fennel.
Most Italian sausages have use crushed fennel. We use whole seed, and you can actually see it.
We're in the dining room of Sonny's tidy little house in Charleston, West Virginia. Louis and Sonny are introducing me to the Argento family sausage, a recipe that's brought pride and acclaim to their Italian clan for nearly a century. Usually, once the meat is mixed together, the family stuffs it into natural sausage casings. But this time, Louis patties the mixture out like hamburger and throws it in a skillet. The Argentos like their sausage on pizza, in spaghetti sauce, or served on a hoagie bun, but they'll eat it for any meal of the day.
We like it with fried eggs and applesauce in the morning. You know, apples and pork generally goes well together. So we do applesauce or fried apples, even better, with some toast on the side.
Sonny is 82 now, and he's been eating this stuff all his life. The recipe came from his mother's family, who hailed from the Calabria region of Italy. He grew up hearing stories about how his grandfather made it in the old country.
So they would chop the pork up with knives. I mean, they didn't have any electricity. They couldn't grind the pork, so they would chop it up as fine as they could get it, which wasn't very fine. Mixed a seasoning in it, and he had a hollowed out cow horn. My grandmother would clean the casings. If you don't know what a casing is, I'm not going to tell you.
I'll tell you. They're intestines. Natural sausage casings are animal intestines.
But she would clean the casings really well, and he would skinny him up on the cow horn and stuff it with his thumb.
Sonny's mother eventually taught the recipe to his father, Angelo Argento. His side of the family came from Sicily. Angelo actually came to West Virginia from Sicily when he was 6 years old. He became a coal miner at just 13. But when he wasn't below ground, Angelo was working for a local grocery store. By the time he was 26, he left the mines to start a store of his own, 3.5 miles up Powelton Holler in Fayette County. He called the little shop A. Argento and Company.
He said 2 men could stand fingertip to fingertip, and the other hands could touch the wall. But yet he sold almost everything in there.
That store only existed for about 5 years before it burned to the ground. Angelo didn't have any insurance, and he didn't have much in the way of savings. But he was already so well known for his work ethic and honesty that a bank in Montgomery loaned him the money to build a new store on little more than a handshake. He called this store Angelo's Market.
This guy had a 4th grade education, but nobody's fool, and you weren't going to beat him out of a nickel.
In 1960, young Sonny Argento found himself stationed in the mountains of Turkey with the U.S. Air Force. He was 20 years old, away from Fayette County, West Virginia for the first time, and chronically homesick. He borrowed another airman's reel-to-reel tape deck and recorded an audio message for his family back home. When they got it, they borrowed a reel-to-reel to make a recording of their own and mailed Sonny the tape.
I think my mother says the first words.
Hi, Sonny. How are you?
Everybody in the family passed around the microphone, telling him about ball games they won and report cards they got and colds they caught. When it was Sonny's dad's turn, Angelo made sure to give an update on the family meat shop.
And my dad said, we made some pepperoni this week.
Oh, you should have been here this week. We sure had some weather. It's been below zero. Nothing I made some pepperoni the other day.
Pepperoni is what Angelo called his sausage.
And sure was cold.
When he heard the tape, Sonny says he immediately pictured his father's grocery store, the meat shop and its big metal sausage mill with the feet nailed to the wooden carving block. He could see his father spooning the fragrant mix of coarse ground pork and spices into one end and turning the crank, and he could see his mother on the other end, catching the long links of plump pink sausage as they spilled from the machine. It did very little to alleviate Sonny's homesickness. But after 5 years in the Air Force, he eventually made it back to Fayette County to help his father run the business. He took over completely in 1977, a few years before Angelo passed away. Sonny raised his 5 kids in that market, but you can probably guess where this is going. A small, family-owned store trying to stand against the tide of big-box megamarts and the dollar stores that seem to crop up in every Appalachian holler. More and more customers were lured away, and the Argentos just couldn't compete. Angelo's Market closed in 2008 after more than 70 years in business. But here's the thing. The family didn't just lose the family business, as Louis Argento explained to me.
We had no need to go to Kroger or Walmart or any other store to shop. And when our store closed, we realized, which kind of sparked our business of today, that there was no quality Italian sausage in the stores.
So they just kept making it. First in Sonny's kitchen, and then in a makeshift meat shop they set up in his garage. Once family and friends found out, they started getting orders.
A lot of people, especially still the Italian Americans around here, they like the sausage for their Christmas dinners or holiday parties. So next thing you know, we have an order for 500 pounds of sausage.
The demand was so great, Sonny decided maybe it was time to try a new kind of family business. There was a problem, though. It's fine to make sausage in your garage for family and friends, but the government doesn't really want you to sell it. Luckily, one of Sonny's friends owned a few grocery stores in Charleston and loaned the family the use of a meat shop. By making it there, the Argentos could sell their sausage in the store and offer it to local restaurants. They named their product Angelo's Old World Sausage. The label features an old photo of Sonny and his dad Angelo in ties and white aprons, grinning in front of the old store's meat case. They made the sausage in that grocery store meat shop for about 2 years, but they eventually outgrew the space. For one thing, they couldn't produce as much sausage as they needed. And because it wasn't a USDA-inspected processing facility, the Argentos couldn't sell their sausage in other stores. For a while, they considered building a factory of their own, but that was too big of an investment for such a small company. So they started looking around for a co-packer. After some searching, they found Wampler's Farm Sausage in Lenoir City, Tennessee. It's also a family business, albeit one with a modern solar-powered meat processing facility attached.
And I saw all these guys in white coats and a federal inspector walking around with their arms folded, and a tear came to my eye. I remembered my mom and dad standing over the meat block making sausage and me helping them. And occasionally my mother would have to put her finger in it and touch it to her tongue and say, it needs more salt. And I'm thinking that we can no longer do that.
Wampler's factory can turn out as much sausage as the Argentos will ever need. And everything is still made to the family's exacting standards, from the coarseness of the ground meat to the blend of spices that gives the sausage its flavor.
We sample every batch, still. So, we just want to, as good as Wampler is, we want to make sure our sausage that our customers are buying is consistent.
Back in Sonny's kitchen, as the smell of fennel and frying pork filled the air, Louis told me the appeal of Angelo's sausage is as much about what doesn't go into it as what does. There are no binders or additives like you might find in big commercial sausages, and no preservatives.
And it's a joy to give people a bite of our sausage for the first time and see their face light up. And they're like, man, I've never tasted anything like this before. So yeah, so go put your corporate sausage down and get some really good stuff here that has no preservatives in it.
But the same economic forces that put Angelo's Market out of business make it difficult for Angelo's Old World Sausage, too. Their products are now available in about 30 stores in West Virginia, Ohio, and Kentucky, but that growth has been a struggle. Louis says it can be difficult to convince managers to carry their product when every square inch of a chain grocery store's meat case is rented out to major corporate producers. And Angelo's isn't a big enough player to get into the big box stores' warehouses, so their sausage doesn't appear in shopping apps. That's left the Argento family to depend on a more grassroots approach, one based on word of mouth and some social media advertising and setting up taste tests in grocery stores. They're confident that if they can just convince folks to take a bite, they'll be hooked.
Yeah, well, you want to take it in the dining room, Louis?
Okay, yeah. I'll get you guys some utensils. Some bread.
Once the sausage was done, Sonny and Louis set the table with a loaf of sandwich bread and a jar of their home-pickled peppers.
Peppers? Yeah.
As we dug in, it was clear to see that even after a lifetime of eating this stuff, Sonny and Louis don't just take pride in this family recipe. They really enjoy eating it. And that's why they're pretty sure you will too.
The big challenge is getting more people to try it and to realize that there is indeed a quality Italian sausage available in grocery stores. Sometimes it might cost 25 or 50 cents more, but it's worth it.
You know, I'll see him or I'll say, you want to try a piece of a sausage? And he'll say, no thanks, and he'll just keep on going. And I want to just run up and tap him on the shoulder and say, you don't know what you're missing. If you just give us a try.
Because at the end of the day, this isn't just sausage. It's the Argento family's most precious family heirloom. For Inside Appalachia, I'm Zach Harold in Charleston, West Virginia.
People enjoy string band music year-round. In Floyd County, Virginia, there's just one stoplight, and it's in the town of Floyd, which is home to about 400 year-round residents. Except on Friday nights. The town's population doubles, triples, or more from people traveling up the steep slopes of the Blue Ridge to come to Floyd's Friday night jamboree. Every week, you find people from all walks of life, different places, different politics, different ages, coming together at the Floyd Country Store to sing, dance, play music, listen to it, and just take everything in. In the summer, music spills from the main stage and dance floor in the Floyd Country Store out onto the sidewalk. And that's where I first saw Chad Ritchie and Robbie Harmon.
I'm going to Western Country now, oh Susanna. I'm going to Western Country now, oh Susanna girl.
Chad's on the fiddle, and Robbie's playing banjo. They traveled up 2 hours from Wilkesboro, North Carolina.
This is my first time. I think you've been here before.
Yeah, I've been to Floyd several times, yeah.
And what's kept you coming back?
The music.
Why are y'all here tonight?
The music.
The music.
Well, you know, just coming up here, it's like, wow, it's like everything revolves around the music. You know, it seems like where we're from, music kind of, you know, you fit it in with your life. Around here, music is life.
The main event each Friday is the jamboree that takes place inside the Floyd Country Store. But there's a whole scene. Here's David Easterly, one of the greeters inside the jamboree.
We have the gospel band 6:30 to 7:30, dance band 7:30 to 10. Come in here, go outside, people dance in here, dance outside.
Inside or outside, you find all kinds of folks. Locals, like Curtis Newell, who lives nearby and has a reserved seat.
We got a lot of friends here. It's been coming for 20 or 30 years. And, you know, you come every week, basically a lot, to see them.
Or Tracy Elliott, who began driving 226 miles here with her husband, weekly, after they found out about it on the internet.
We had never heard this type of music. We had never danced a day in our life, and now we dance every week.
Or a music school graduate from South Carolina, who along with her husband traveled up on a church friend's recommendation.
I'm just here to take it all in. This isn't really the genre that I'm most familiar with. You know, I do opera professionally, so it's a bit of a change, but I'm really excited, especially for the gospel set.
Get in line, brother, if you want to go home.
Now, Floyd County is a politically red county. Republicans pretty reliably win about 2/3 of the vote each year. But at the jamboree, you find people of all political persuasions, dancing, singing, and playing music together. Kirsten Griffiths says that's one thing she likes about the jamboree. It's diversity of all kinds.
It is funny because, you know, some of us have some agreements. We kind of can pleasantly tease each other politically because we are going to be on complete and utter opposite ends of the spectrum, but we will dance together most of the time.
I heard from people time and again about how friendly the dance floor is. Like Maggie from down the mountain in Franklin County.
It doesn't matter if you know somebody's name or not. Everybody is really encouraging, and it's the kind of place where when you come and you want to try something new, you don't really feel that shy to do it. If you're dancing, you're doing better than anyone who's not.
Floyd local and Jamboree regular Roger Dickerson still remembers the first time he went up on the dance floor.
I've always loved bluegrass, but I didn't know how to dance. And I come up here one Friday night, and a girl from Bassett come up here and jerked me out of the seat, and she said, "You're going to learn how to dance." And I said, "If you let go of my hand, I'm running back to my seat." It scared me to death because I'm all feet. And she showed me how to flat foot, and I've been doing it ever since. And I tell people all the time, I said, "You come to dance?" And they said, "No, we're just curious. We want to hear the music." I said, "The music is good, but I said, when you get out on that floor, it's another world."
One of the first music circles that got going outside was made up of kids. They're just learning how to play fiddles, banjos, and guitars at the country store's handmade music school. College student Sophie Meckel, who's been teaching the youth class, leads them through a rendition of Short and Bread. Their moms and dads sit around the perimeter, visiting, listening to the music, smiling and clapping. Morgan Grimm is one of those moms. She praises Floyd's music community for being so welcoming.
Even these kids you're watching now, some of them are strumming for the first time, but there's an invitation of come and be a part of this music community.
The kids have been part of the Friday Night Jamboree since it first started. And some of them who started coming way back then have grown into adults who still come now, like Chris Perlman, who lives just down the mountain in Ferrum, Virginia.
You know, when I was just a boy, I'd come here, and they played music over at the fire department too. And I'd go from there to here, from there to here. I'd run backwards and forwards, you know, I was just a chap, you know, and I'd run from there to here.
Floyd's Friday Night Jamboree officially started in the mid-'80s, when Freeman Cochran started keeping his general store open Friday evenings for people who wanted to play and hear string band music. Since then, the business has changed hands several times. But each new owner, 5 of them now, has kept the Jamboree going. Dylan Locke and Heather Krantz are the current owners. They bought it 8 years ago. But they don't see themselves as owners so much as stewards. Here's Krantz.
It's never belonged to us. It's not something that I think belongs to anyone. You know, it belongs to this community, and it belongs to the people that show up.
On the night I'm there, Krantz is out there, playing in the circle along with the kids from the handmade music school. She says their job keeping the Jamboree going requires, well, playing right along with everyone else who's part of it.
You have to listen, or else it doesn't work, right? And same with playing music. If you're playing in a jam or something, like, you have to be listening to the other people around you.
Krantz and Locke are doing more besides just keeping the Jamboree going each Friday. They've grown their music schedule to include events on Thursdays, Saturdays, and Sundays, too. Sometimes they'll host a big national act at the store. Bela Fleck, Gillian Welch, and Floyd's own Morgan Wade have all played here. They're also honoring the past with a bluegrass distribution business and an attempt to document the region's musical history through a program called Music in the Mountains. And the Handmade Music School is paying it forward and building the next generation of musicians. All that contributes to the Friday Night Jamboree. It takes work and intention to build community. And when it's done right, it can attract people from around the world.
Well, we're Chris and Fiona. Last year we set out from Europe to come across the Atlantic on a sailing boat and spent the winter in the Caribbean, and then came up to Chesapeake about 2 months ago. And then we decided to explore inland a bit.
We wanted to see some bluegrass music, so here we are.
If you came from an awfully long, we know we got North Carolina, we got Arkansas, so we already know some folks traveled a good long way to be here with us.
At intermission during the Jamboree, Dylan Locke always comes out and does a raffle and awards a Floyd Country Store baseball cap to whoever came from farthest away.
So if you think you traveled farther away, then yell it out, please.
England.
England? All right, well, there we go. That's farther away than Arkansas, Amanda. So England's from farthest away, so we'll get you all up here in just a minute. Anybody from pretty far away and want to yell it out and love where you're from and want to tell us that? West Palm Beach. West Palm Beach, Maryland. Kenya. That's pretty far away. So tell us your name and what brings you here from Kenya.
My name is Nyambura, and I got married to Eric, so that's why I'm here. We drove from Virginia, so technically I shouldn't be getting the hat because we drove from Woodbridge, but I am from Kenya, so I still think you should go to the people from England. Give it to them.
Well, hey, that was very generous of you, and it was really nice to meet you. Yeah, and congratulations.
After the jamboree, I caught up with Nambora Kiari and asked what brought her to Floyd. Turns out, she and Eric found it in a guidebook. And there's another reason.
Growing up in Kenya, we listened to a lot of country music, but the old school country music like Don Williams and Dolly Parton, and the country music that I listened to growing up sounds so much like bluegrass music. So when I listen to bluegrass music, it reminds me of home.
And that's the true magic of the Friday Night Jamboree. It doesn't matter if you're from Floyd, or from England, or from Kenya. If you're a Democrat or Republican. If you're 2 or 92. It just feels like home. Till next time, thanks for joining us as we journey throughout Appalachia. Our theme music is by Matt Jackford. Other music this week was provided by Jeff Ellis, Joe Dobbs in the 1937 flood, Harvey and Copeland, Ron Mullenix and Gary Milnes, many, many musicians at Floyd's Friday Night Jamboree, and John Blissard. Bill Lynch is our producer. Abby Neff is our associate producer. Our executive producer is Eric Douglas. Kelly Libby is our editor. Our audio mixer is Patrick Stevens. We had help this week from Folkways editors Nicole Musgrave, Chris Julin, Jennifer Gorin. You can find us on Instagram @InAppalachia. You can also send us an email to insideappalachia@wvpublic.org. Visit wvpublic.org/InsideAppalachia to subscribe to our newsletter and stream all of our stories. Or look for Inside Appalachia on your favorite podcast app. Inside Appalachia is a production of West Virginia Public Broadcasting.